My sister and I went on a history hunt investigation to find out more about the city of Sugarland. Why is it called Sugarland? Well, we found out a lot. It started with a man named Stephen F. Austin. Well, actually, it started with Stephen's dad, Moses Austin. He lost a lot of money in the 1800s U.S. Depression and wanted a new life. So in 1820, he went to the Spanish government in Mexico and received permission to bring American settlers to the area that would later include Sugarland. Unfortunately, he died in 1821, and his son, Stephen, took up the call. Texas won independence from Mexico in 1836 at the Alamo in the area known as San Antonio.
Okay, what did you find?
I found Stephen F. Austin, his picture, and a story.
Okay, what are some important parts of the story?
Austin reserved 5 leagues of land for himself, about 35 square miles. That includes much of the western portions of Sugarland. He eventually headquartered his new settlement upriver to the Brazos at San Felipe de Austin and released his leagues to others.
Wow. Because he was here with how many people?
300.
And what were they looking for?
Land.
Right.
Okay. The father of Texas received permission from the Mexican government to bring up a group of settlers known as the Old 300 to his first colony in the Mexican territory of Texas. Many brought enslaved persons with them among the earliest colonies to receive land grants in the Sugarland area, where Samuel May Williams, George Brown, Charles Belknap, Elijah Alcorn, William Stafford, Alexander Hodge, and Miles Battle. Sorry. About this time, cotton, corn, and sugarcane were main crops being planted on various farms across what is now Sugarland. Austin gave a league, which is about 3 miles of land, to Samuel May Williams, who did work for Austin. The land was expanded through the years and eventually came to be known as Sugarland around 1853, when it was sold again to Benjamin Franklin Terry and William Jefferson Kyle. The production and harvest of the sugarcane depended heavily on slave labor. When slavery ended after the Civil War, it wasn't until the 1880s that the sugar mill had to find other means of labor. Around 1883, E.H. Cunningham and Littlebury Ellis were building a small community that was starting to take shape with a fully functioning mill.
By 1908, Kempner and Ellis acquired the property that the mill stood on and built a prison in 1909, about 3 miles away from the factory. They built the prison with a plan to use a convict leasing system where the prisoners would be leased out to work the cane fields and sugar mill. This system was later outlawed in 1912. The prison building still stands today as a history and science museum. We went to see what remnants of this history still remains. We found out that the prison operated a segregated life living, working and eating quarters. Much of what we learned was devastating, and many inmates worked under deplorable conditions. Some inmates were convicted for petty thefts, but were forced to work under the same conditions as murderers in slave-like conditions.
I'm going back to New Orleans. My race is almost run. I'm going back to spend the rest of my life beneath the rising sun.
Our next bit of information we uncovered is how the factory and sugar company got its name. Around 1910, Kemper stayed in a hotel in New York City called the Imperial Hotel. He was so impressed and inspired by a regal theme and crown that he named the new company Imperial Sugar. By 1959, Sugarland was officially incorporated as a city in Texas. Master planned communities followed later into the 80s and continues today as Sugarland thrives and flourishes. It's amazing to see all the diverse cultures, not to mention the huge array of ethnic restaurants around the city. Much of the rich history can still be found around the city today. The char house of the Imperial Sugar Company still stands today. The 1925 building still proudly displays the retro neon sign Imperial Sugar Pure Cane that lights up at night. An African American graveyard exists less than half a mile away from the prison, full of men that lived their whole life working the cane that would be shipped around the world. We found a couple of sugar vats that the cane would be processed in, along with ground up cow bones to give the sugar that bleached white snowy look.
And finally, a great big kiosk. Wait, what does that have to do with all this? I'm so glad you asked. That sign is actually a great big hand lathe, a tool used in the 1800s and early 1900s to harvest sugar in the fields. So cool! Now that you've heard about the history of our hometown, we would love to hear where you're from. Get permission from your parents and tell us some interesting history of your hometown down in the comments below. You never know, the Grace Girls might come and investigate. Subscribe if you want, and thank you for watching!